Hello again. We're back. This is going to be part 4, talking about temperature and energy correspondence, kind of relating temperature and energy and how all these different things work. This video specifically is a lot of just straight factual information stuff, good things to recognize to be able to understand, but not a ton of substance. I imagine that this chunk of material is probably going to be, as far as like testable material, it's going to just be a lot of like pretty decently straightforward questions, maybe a couple of calculations based on the specific formulas, but nothing too crazy. As always, if you're not subscribed, please do so. Leave a like on the video, and of course, best way to support is watching this content, as well as if you want access to all this material, there's a link in the description down below. Okay, so there are 3 temperature scales that we use: Kelvin, Celsius, Fahrenheit. Most commonly for all of our sciencey stuff, we're going to use Kelvin and we're going to use Celsius because Fahrenheit is just kind of dumb. Fahrenheit is based off of weird numbers and it doesn't go nicely into all of our stuff. Kelvin, this is what is called the absolute temperature scale. 0 degrees Kelvin is the lowest possible temperature. This is when everything freezes, meaning that like the down to a molecular level, the electrons stop moving. Absolute Kelvin, absolute 0 is what this is called. It's technically, as far as I'm aware, it's never been completely reached. They've approached absolute 0, but it's essentially the absolute complete and utter lack of energy entirely. So kind of a cool thing. Celsius goes from based on the freezing. So freezing and boiling points of water is 0 degrees and 100 degrees Celsius. And then Fahrenheit is freezing, again based on water, 32 degrees for freezing, 212 for boiling. Again, we won't really talk much about Fahrenheit. The connection between these, kind of converting between them, is Kelvin to Celsius. We take the number of degrees Kelvin, we take is equal to the temperature in Celsius plus 273.15. So if we wanted to go from Kelvin to Celsius, whatever the temperature is in Kelvin, we would subtract 273.15. If we had Celsius and we wanted to get to Kelvin, we add 273.15. What's kind of cool about Kelvin and Celsius is that even though there's that 273.15 difference, if you change Kelvin or Celsius, they are linked in that they go up and down together. So if you go up or down 1 degree Kelvin, you also go up or down 1 degree Celsius if you convert it. So same thing, like if you go up 10 degrees Kelvin, and then you convert it to Celsius, it's just gone up by 10 degrees. So they're connected that way. So in a lot of our equations, you can use either Kelvin or you can use Celsius because they're super easy to go back and forth between them. Fahrenheit is weird because it's got like this 5/9. So you take the temperature in Celsius, 5 is equal to the 5/9 multiplied by the temperature in Fahrenheit minus 32. That gives you the Celsius. It's weird. So worry about Kelvin and Celsius. Okay, so we're going to look at little picture, microscopic picture, and then we'll look at the big picture as to why this is all important. We have a couple of equations. So we're talking about the average kinetic energy of a molecule at body temperature. Okay, so Ke is the average kinetic energy. Kb is this Boltzmann constant. It's some really smart dude did a bunch of math and figured this out. Cool beans, good to go. Tb, this is the body temperature in Kelvin. So our body temperature is about 310 degrees Kelvin. Technically, with Kelvin, you don't say degrees. It's 310 Kelvin. So forgive me that little mistake. You plug all these numbers in, and it spits out 6.42 times 10 to the negative 21st joules worth of energy. So a single free-moving molecule at the temperature of the body has this much energy. Very, very small. Continuing, we're going to start going from that microscopic to a little bit of a bigger view. Another really smart guy named Avogadro, he figured out that there's a specific number that connects all those little tiny particles to a bigger unit of measurement that we call a mole. A lot of chemistry is done in moles because it's a big enough unit, a big enough weight to actually be relevant to every day-to-day life and actually able to perform experiments using that amount of stuff and get decent results. That's all that means. The number is 6.02214,076 times 10 to the 23rd power, a massive number. Okay, just it's a constant. We know the number and then we're good to go. A lot of times it's abbreviated to 6.022, and you can kind of eliminate all that 14076 stuff. So we have another equation. The kinetic, so the energy, I'll say energy. The energy of a mole, so that bigger number of free moving molecules at body temperature, is equal to the Avogadro's number multiplied by that number we found earlier. And then we do some fancy little conversion going from joules to kilojoules and then to calories. So we find out that 0.924 calories is the amount of energy in 1 mole of all of this stuff. So this is all just set up. We get these numbers. You don't really need to, you don't do any equations or anything with all of this. Where we actually come into play for an equation is a situation, okay, where we're looking at a person who needs to maintain their body temperature in a specific environment. So how much heat is needed to raise the temperature of 70 kilograms? So this would be like a 70 kilogram human being, so about 160-ish pounds. From room temperature, so they're sitting in a room temperature room, to 37 degrees Celsius, which is our human core temperature. Specific heat, sometimes this word is used, or this is used in this equation specifically. It's the amount of heat required. Heat is energy, so joules, required to raise the temperature of a unit of mass of a given substance by a given amount. So it's okay, how much energy we need to raise the temperature of a kilogram of this particular thing by 1 degree. For humans, we typically use C equals 4,000 because people are mostly water. So, being mostly water, we just use it. We use the specific heat of water as kind of a decent constant that we can use. So again, we have another equation that some really smart dude figured out. This bothers me that they use the same numbers because we just talked about laminar flow, and laminar flow is Q, and we have Q again. So just try and keep these separate. Make sure you label these carefully. Q equals mass times that specific heat that we're told, multiplied by the change in temperature in either Kelvin or Celsius. So we pick up all of our numbers. Like I said, usually when I read a problem, I'm gonna start getting the information that we get. So raise the temperature of 70 kilograms. So this is mass is 70 kg. Our starting temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. End temperature is going to be 37 Celsius. So that means delta T, the change in temperature was 17 Celsius. Okay, so I have all the information. I have mass, I have the starting temp, ending temp, and I have delta T. So I look here, okay, I have M, I have delta T. Oh, and I was given C up here. Sweet. I can get rid of those starting and ending temperatures. I have all the numbers that I need. All I do is I plug them into my equation. 70 times 4,000 times 37 minus 20, which is our 17. And I get 4.76 million joules. I converted 1 big C calorie equals 1,000 kilocalories, little c's, which is equal to 4,184 joules. Again, make an equation sheet, may include all of these equations, include the different little tidbits like this, like 1 big C calories, 1 K cal equals 4184 joules. These kind of things are going to make or break whether you understand exactly what's going on and can do all this stuff. Hopefully, this professor allows you a note card, or she gives you these, or they give you these values. If not, I will pray for you. So, anyways, Q is equal to 1,138 calories, big C calories. So, what does this all mean? This tells us essentially, this is part of what is our basal metabolic rate. This is the thermal portion of our basal metabolic rate. So that's saying for this individual, if they're sitting in room temperature, in order to maintain themselves at their proper body temperature, they need to burn 1,138 calories, food calories, in order to make sure that they maintain that specific temperature. Well, it's kind of what it's saying. That's the way that I would interpret it. Or you could interpret it just that's how much heat it requires to go from room temperature to core body temperature. If it was a colder environment, so if we had a larger change in temperature, we would need a lot more energy. So if we're out in the cold, we need more energy to stay warm. So yeah, and that's all of this is saying. A lot of equation type stuff, a lot of converting things. That's temperature and energy correspondence.